Alright, sorry I was doing a recording on my camera, but it cut off. Anyway, after Pastor Thomas told me no, I wasn't one of the two witnesses, this caused a confusion of me where by the time my ship went out to sea, I done made up my mind not to quit going out to the church as much. And this was our first med cruise and stuff like that. And this was after EMF and King was electrocuted as soon as I got to the ship, which I didn't know any of the rules. I didn't know the red tag rules. But I do know and witnessed King being electrocuted, as did Lieutenant Guzman behind me. I don't know how many times I would have to have told them that as well if they were messing with me between sleep periods, which could be the only time they might could do something. I know. Now again, if you're groggy and you're electrocuted time and time again or something, up to 120 to 200 and something volts, I don't know. And, that would knock me out and I wouldn't even remember it. And, see, being electricians, they would know how much I could actually handle without killing me too. And, but it would also leave me, when I woke up, disoriented and hard to wake up as well. I'm very tired-ish and sluggish as well, which no one but one time, and that was First Petty Officer Acevedo, did anyone wake me up. The whole time I was on the ship and that division, and I sort of had to wake myself up and was always groggy and barely made it to muster on time, but I always made it on time too. And now, like I said, this is just theories based upon my car accident and now 3-story fall. Now the point is though, if I lost up to say 4 to 6 hours, no more, and I woke up in the hospital, my mom told me I was in a car accident because little Roddy and Vivian went batshit. Well, Vivian herself went batshit on me, and little Roddy and Vivian covered it up by wrecking the car off of the dead man's curb. Which is what it looks like because I have no chest injury. Because the steering wheel would have went straight into my chest. Not just my head going through the windshield, which is what they were wanting you to think about the accident. And they probably put my hand into the windshield to make it look like my head and face went into the windshield or something. But even that don't match up. Now what I mean by that is, when you put your hand in front of your face and you go through the glass, that will be a specific cut pattern, not only on your hand, but on your face. Now, my face was cut up a little, which means they also could have did that too, with parts of the glass, trying to cover it up. But not too badly. It's like they didn't want to, make me look worse than I already looked either. Which I was I'm a decent looking fella. That's what I mean. That's what you mean. So there it would have been Vivian associated with little Roddy. But after that, who would it have been? Maybe Pastor Thomas or someone on base. I don't think I would have called Daphne because me and Daphne's relationship was basically over. Only reason I might would have called her is to ask her for a shirt or something. Though whoever called, if I did something unusual in that situation, I called to let them know that, and that I needed to talk to them about it. Something that just happened to me. I don't even know how to mention it over the phone just yet. It all depends. It all depends on stuff like that. Now, of course, if I did interact with someone again up to 4 to 6 hours, like with the car accident, I have no real memory of it. Now, I was yelling and screaming when they were loading me into the ambulance at my mom. And everyone was freaking out over that too. And the ambulance drivers were trying to figure out if I had something to drink and stuff like that, and had drank alcohol or something. But I seemed to be also healing from a neck injury where I had a head injury, head trauma, and neck injury. And they were doing work on me in the hospital trying to figure out what was wrong. And they noticed that at the C2 and C3 I was in a lot of pain. But they didn't even really give me any major pain medicines. It's like just a little sugar wort and a tetanus shot. Well, whatever they did, it did the trick, because by the time 4 hours later I was in the ICU, they had even took off the hard C collar, which they stated I was in when I first got there. And I don't know if I was complaining about it all through the night and kept bugging them about taking it off. Maybe I was, I don't know. Now, they didn't go into a whole lot of detail in the medical records, but I got enough evidence that whatever happened to my neck was being healed. Not normally either. I was in pain, but if it's what I think it was, a fracture at the C2 and C3, those don't heal normally. And usually it's a compound fracture would also, where the facets have locked together of the C2 and C3, meaning the bone was connected to the bone where it wasn't supposed to be, right? Like a force had jammed it all down, right? A bat, not a windshield. Or my chest would have been crushed in the car accident. That's the thing I would have thought about forensics on that. And I would try to warn her about that too, because of shows I was seeing on HBO. Now, if you do this, though, if I made it here, I know, and they do an autopsy or whatever they got to do if you hurt me or kill me or whatever, and I healed, or something in the process. Again, you're going to get in more trouble than me if they find out what happens. And it could be a continuing thing as well. Now, at that time, you're going to have two options. Either you confess your crime or you keep hiding it. That's up to you. But on Perry Mason, the guilty person usually confesses their crime and either go to jail or whatever. It's up to you. It's up to you. But, of course, Jesus forgave those who attacked him, and I forgive you. So it's up to you what you do about it. If I still don't remember clearly everything, you're still in the clear, but the forensics is going to show I was not in a car accident. You won't know what all to do to make it look like a car accident either. What you'll do is something that you think makes it look like a car accident. That's where people mess up in these type of cases. By not doing all the detailed forensic works of what happened in the car accident. That's how you can tell if something's attempted murder as well, or a real car accident. And Marceline told me when I woke up, and this is how I remember it. She was talking about my chest, and that a nurse had noticed that my chest looked like that of a football player's or something like that when that was in shape, or something of that nature. Well, it wasn't until recently that I was looking at one of the blogs on trauma and talking about different reactions to different patients that I read about the steering wheel would also break a person's chest in the car accidents. Well, if I went into the windshield, how did I avoid the steering wheel? I couldn't have. I was a driver. That's where they fucked up Little Roddy and Vivian. Now, when I asked Little Roddy about it later, he shortly after that died of a drug overdose. Suicide? Cause of guilt? And not wanting to rat out Vivian? Maybe. And like I said, I wouldn't be able to see the girl until she's at least 16. Now, by that time, I decided to join the Navy, and if she was still living with Vivian, and Vivian was sort of in hiding, and not even dating Little Roddy anymore, in fear that if I was to remember it or something, the police would come after her. And she would have to be on the lam for at least 7 to 8 years or something like that. And that's what I mean, too. I didn't see or hear about Vivian for a long ass time. Now, her daughter is 13 to my 16 or 14, somewhere in there. That would be the youngest I think I would be with anyway. If we talked about it, which I would, and she decided to go ahead and lose her virginity to me because of what her mom was doing with Little Roddy, I was like, you're the example. And she's just following your example, and I'm following Little Roddy's. That's all you can say there, too. Because I know what he did with Terry. So, you can't make this an issue if you're also a lot older than Little Roddy, too, because technically he's not 18 yet either. And that's, in a way, if you're going to make this statutory rape, sorry, he's not 18. I know. You're sleeping with him. I know. Now, what you're doing is bending the law. I know. You're making the law say something you want it to say, and it don't mean that. I know. And you're breaking the law in a way, too, if you're going to be that straight. I know. As well. So the first time would have been Vivian, but the second time might have been Pastor Thomas. And I named my enemy in there, who did not want me to be one of the two witnesses for some reason, and was against me being one of the two witnesses. That's all I know. That's all you know. And he would not clarify as to why, or every time I went out to the church and started getting more gifts of the Holy Ghost, like speaking in tongues and stuff like that, he only seemed to want to tempt me through sexual means or something like that. I don't know, with females. And that's when I started getting laid a lot too after that experience. Now, I don't know how elaborate of a scheme it went. I know. Because, of course, any person who was at Shay's party that's a female, including Shay's own girlfriend, could have had sex with me. I don't know. But again, I wasn't really trying to be with anyone, but this girl that stripped in front of me and Uncle Russell and another guy, she went off in the car with me, and me and her had sex. That could have been just, her way of, choosing one of the three and chose me as the youngest and best looking at the time. Now I'm, a little overweight because of the 3-story fault, right? Which is what I associated with the last thing I remembered, Pastor Thomas. Anyway. And unless you took it to a murderous, far beyond reason level, what can I tell you happened beyond, I didn't remember 3-story fault. I know, nothing else. Though if I did talk to you about all that, I would also remind you that day about the car accident. And if my shipmates were doing something to me, I would tell them the same thing about the car accident. I know. And whatever you do to me, you have a 4-hour window when I'm asleep. I know. Which is a lot of time. I know. And I'm still having sleeping problems and still sleeping the same pattern as I did when I was in the Navy, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, on top of bipolar disorder, on top of delusionary disorder, and that's why they think it's paranoid schizophrenia as well. But if it was my shipmate's fault, as well as Pastor Lloyd R. Davis and Edward J. Thomas, that's why I'm in the pickle. Now, Pastor Payne is sort of still in the light a little bit, but even he's getting a little recluse, I can't reach him or Pastor Thomas anymore at the church. And it's like they're going into retirement. And they're supposed to be pastors. Right. I thought pastors don't retire. They don't have to. They're supposed to do the Lord's bidding, right? Or Pastor Davis's, right? Now, what ended up happening with Pastor Davis is he went to jail and was in jail till 99. As well. And died in jail, supposedly, right? That's the story they told us. Well, I can't say that didn't happen, but there were some odd things. Pastor Davis had privileges that other inmates never had. They would let him call his church and preach for over an hour or so. I never heard of that. Now, I didn't think about it till now. I know. Either. What I mean by that is, when you're around people and they're acting all strange around you too, you don't know how to receive the behaviors, whether they're really that way or not. I know. Because Pastor Davis didn't take it too far when he touched my butt and put his arm between my butt cheeks. I guess he was trying to cut my butt or something, or my butthole. I don't know. Because normally that don't happen with me. So when it did, I just looked at it as a bad pass or something and let it go. Because I've also heard of, secretaries being hit on by their bosses or something, or, something like that. I know. So I didn't really take it seriously, of course. Anyway, who would? And that's the point. Now I'm uploading my videos from this morning. And, well, they're resisting the Lord, as always. See, the problem is men resist the Lord like Peter did more than women, I know. But the women aren't the power in the church to be not, I know. Now the problem is, if Peter denied the Lord till he was crucified upside down in Rome, I know, that means only half of the truth was to get down, I know, not the whole. That means anything the disciples said was a half truth, including Paul and John and the rest of them too, I know. They were under the leadership of Peter until he died. And Paul died around the same time as Peter, so his message just came to an end. And so did the rest of them, who were all martyred. And the last one to die was John, of natural causes, on Patmos. Though I heard he was also boiled in oil and things like that before Patmos. They were sort of trying to torture him. Sorry about that, John. But you too denied Jesus. 50-50. And that's why that sort of happened to you. Well, but anyway, John did make a last-ditch effort to explain one detail about Jesus.